You already know what time it is. You already know who it is. This is Ben with liftedimports.com, and today we're just going to do a quick wheel review on the Black Rhino Boxer in the 15x7. The first thing I wanted to talk about was why did I buy this wheel and kind of what my purchase experience was with the wheel. Well, I had initially just been running some really cheap stock Subaru 15-inch wheels on this vehicle. Actually, it wasn't on this vehicle. I'd been running those on my last Forester and then finally saved up enough money to get a set of Methods. I was trying to pay off a bunch of college debt, and so it took me a little bit of time to save up to get something that had the right offset, because before I was just running a pretty aggressive wheel spacer, and I just, that was what I had money to do, so that's what I was running, was those OEM Subaru wheels. They were off like an old Outback. They were really ugly, but they got the job done, and finally I was able to get the Methods. Now the Methods are great. I absolutely love the Method MR502. A lot of people will badmouth them and talk about like, oh, everybody runs that wheel. It's a stupid wheel. You should get something that's not so common. But at the end of the day, if something is common, it could be for no reason, but in a lot of cases, when it comes to vehicle modifications and car parts, aftermarket upgrades and things like that, in a lot of situations, it's because there's a reason for it. The MR502, it really is a good wheel. It's got a really good load rating. It can handle a lot of abuse. A lot of the people running the ARA rally cars, they're all running MR502s. So it's a great wheel, got no complaints about it, but like most lifted Subaru owners, I kind of went through the same evolution of, okay, I got these wheels, I like them, they're great, but could I get something that's even a little more unique and a little bit lighter? And the lightweight aspect was what really got me wanting to step away from the Methods and jump over to the Black Rhinos. The MR502 is a lightweight wheel to begin with. It's less than 20 pounds. In the 15x7 with the plus 15 offset, that wheel is only 19.5 pounds, roughly 19.6 pounds. And let me see, the load rating on those is 2,100 pounds. So that's actually more than what you need in pretty much any Subaru that's manufactured today or ever. And they can take an absolute beating. I've spectated at the Oregon Trail Rally and seen some of the abuse that people put those wheels through. They really hold up insanely well, and they're not a lot of money. But again, it's a very common wheel, and I'm not a rally driver. I'm not really going very fast on the trails. And so I kind of wanted to try something new. Now I know that now the Black Rhino Boxer is pretty prevalent. It's one of the most popular wheels that you're going to find on lifted Subarus. I would say that the Method MR502 would be like the #1 most common wheel, and then the Black Rhino Boxer would probably be #2. That being said, I absolutely love the styling on the Boxer. I think that it kind of harkens back a little bit to some of the old like mesh style wheels that I grew up seeing on Porsches and other sports cars of that era. And I don't know, I think it's a really good looking wheel, and it's insanely light. It's less than 17 pounds, and that is the biggest thing to me that made me want to switch over to that wheel. Now it's 16.9 pounds according to the Black Rhino website, but the load rating is a little bit lower than the Method MR502. It's 1375, so 1,375 pounds per wheel. That's kind of what the load rating is on them. So it's not as strong if you're going to really be beating on them. And I would say that if strength is what you're looking for, the MR502 definitely is going to be the wheel that I would select. However, I've got a buddy that was running this exact same wheel, and this guy, I'm not going to say who he is, but he likes to drive really, really fast. and do things that are a little questionable in his cars. And he absolutely annihilated his Subaru on a gravel road. He came through a turn, and I think he understeered a little bit and put that wheel straight into a boulder, like a small boulder, and he hit it so hard that it actually cracked and broke the boulder, but the wheel is perfectly fine. He actually took those same exact wheels that he had been in that accident and put those on his next Subaru, because his Subaru at that point was totaled. He ripped the control arm out of the vehicle, absolutely hammered the whole front end of the car. Yeah, he ended up just selling it for scrap. It was pretty torn up, but the wheels survived, and they went on his next Subaru, which he continued to beat the absolute crap out of, and they gave him no problems. They still balanced just right. No issues with, speed wobble or anything like that. To me, that speaks volumes about the quality of the wheel. I think, I've banged them up against boulders on trails and stuff, but nothing at high speeds. But I've definitely slammed them into stuff hard enough to where I would have expected them to crack, or at least, be damaged enough to not really function properly. Despite all that, they hold air really well. I haven't had a single problem with them holding air. With the 235/75 R15 tires that I'm running, they also hold the bead substantially well. I've aired these tires down to about 5 to 7 psi. I have not had a problem with the tires coming off the bead on this wheel. Now, I will talk about a couple of things. Number one, people will say, oh, that wheel looks great, but I bet it's an absolute pain in the butt to clean. Now, that is true. This wheel has a lot of edges and a lot of spaces that are difficult to, kind of get into. But that being said, honestly, I'm not that worried about keeping my wheels clean on an off-road Subaru. And I'm also, in most situations, using a good wheel cleaner to get rid of excessive dirt contamination. The Method wheel cleaner is great. The Chemical Guys wheel cleaner is great. The Method wheel cleaner is great if you put it in a different bottle. For some reason, every time I've used it, the bottles are not that great. But other than that, it's a really good wheel cleaner. I've got some more coming. Hopefully they change their bottle supplier, but that's a different story. Anyways, if you hit it with a wheel cleaner and then bang it with the pressure washer, it's great. I also have another tool that I use to clean wheels if I really, really am extremely worried about actually getting them clean. Let me grab it real quick and I'll show it to you. These are the two pieces of equipment that I use to clean the pockets on these wheels. You can either use like a bristled long brush like this. I'm sure you've seen them at the auto parts store or even at Walmart probably. Then there's this, which is kind of like a, if you're real worried about causing abrasions to the finish, you could use this, which is more like a, I'll not explain it, but it's like a foam. It's a foam tool that's just got this, like, it's not terry cloth, but it's like a microfiber type cloth that's designed to fit around it real nice. And these work great. So if you're worried about the finish and damaging it, you don't want to use something abrasive, this works just fine on it. And these go into the, the different pockets on the wheel really, really well. If you're using a good wheel cleaner, it'll get that stuff cleaned out real easily. A quick hit with the pressure washer after letting the wheel cleaner soak for a minute, that's usually all I need. I really don't care. I don't care that much. This is not a show car. It's never gonna be. So I just don't see that as being an issue. I think the weight savings is well worth the money. Now, the reason I think the weight savings is so important is because we're driving Subarus and they don't really have a lot of low end when you're going slow because we don't have a low range T case, right? So in a Jeep, a 4Runner, 4x4 truck, you're able to go into 4 low, engage the T case, and now you have an access to a much lower set of gearing, a lower gear set that you can take advantage of. With these cars, we don't really have that, and so being able to eliminate as many pounds of unsprung weight and rotational mass as we possibly can, that's key. In my opinion, that's what's allowed me to make my CV axles last as long as they have. That's what's allowed me to squeeze every bit of gas mileage out of these cars despite having a bumper cut and, heavy tires. My engine and transmission are perfectly happy with it. If you're concerned about the wheels being kept clean, they're really not that much more difficult to keep clean than any of the current OEM Subaru wheels that are available on the market, like the newer WRX wheels, newer STI wheels, even the wheels that you're going to find on a lot of the cross treks. Those are also, they've got a lot of little crevices and spokes that you're going to have a hard time cleaning. Now, there is one thing that I don't like about this wheel, and that is the placement of the valve stem. It's not a bad placement for if you look at it one way. It's tucked into this one little pocket, and that's great because it protects the valve stem against damage. So like, for example, if you bash it into, a tree branch or something, you're less likely to damage the valve stem, which could kind of mess up your whole day. That's not very likely to happen. I've only damaged one valve stem on an off-roading trip ever, and that was because, we had debeaded a tire. It wasn't even my valve stem, it was a buddy's. We debeaded a tire, and he kept running on it. I don't know what happened, but the valve stem just got completely ripped out, and we don't even know where it ended up. So needless to say, that wheel and tire was done for the day. So that's the one good part about where it's at, is it's protected. The bad part, let me show it to you actually. You like my chair? The bad part about this is I have a hard time getting my air compressor nozzle onto it easily. Now, it's not hard. It's absolutely not very hard, but it's not convenient. Now, a lot of you are going to be running an air compressor that has a straight fitting that you're going to basically twist on. My compressor, I have a fitting that I put on and then I lock down. It's like the same shape as like a bicycle air pump fitting. So it's kind of at a 90-degree angle. And it can be hard to get it to seat properly in here. So if this is packed with snow, this is extremely hard to get to. So a lot of times in my other wheels, on my Jeep, for example, if I'm needing to let air out or if I'm trying to air up or whatever, if this is all packed with snow, all I got to do on those other wheels is take my foot and start, kicking around on the wheel, and all that snow is going to come out. But on here, I may not even have any idea where on the wheel that is. And so I got to start poking around and looking for it. Now, that's a super small inconvenience. It really doesn't give me second thoughts at all. Still love the wheels. That's just the one thing that I would tell you to consider. It's the only bad thing that I can really think to tell you about these wheels. Now, I absolutely think for the price, this is a fantastic wheel. I ended up getting mine from some dude. He was selling them, just trying to get rid of them. And, I was like, oh, I'll come pick those up right now. But I will say that it's not uncommon to find these for about $215 to $240, depending on who's selling them. Right now, it looks like they're running about $240 currently. Like if you're buying them on Amazon for this exact same wheel, I'm imagining you could find them for a little bit less. Like for example, 4-wheel parts, looks like they've currently got a sale on them for $216, which is a banging deal. There's two things you'll want to remember if you're going to buy this wheel. The first thing that you're going to want to make sure that you pick up you're going to need to pick up a low pro set of lug nuts, right? So like some Gorilla lug nuts or whatever brand you like that's a low profile deal. You're going to have that. You cannot run your stock lug nuts in these wheels. They won't really fit in here. You definitely won't be able to get your socket in there. I'd hate for you to get these wheels, get them home, get ready to install them, only to find out like, oh fudge, I can't install them because I don't have lug nuts. And then you'd have to overpay at the tire shop or something. So just order a set ahead of time and you'll be good to go. The other thing that you'll want to remember, if you're putting these on like, say, a cross track, for example, you're likely going to need to purchase a set of hub-centric rings because these have, I want to say it's like a 76 millimeter hub bore. Most Subarus up until very recently have all been 56.1 millimeters. So make sure that you either check with Black Rhino ahead of time to make sure that they come with them. Some people have said that they send them with them. I'm not 100% sure on it. I've heard both sides of that story. So just check ahead of time to make sure, because if you don't have those, it's a lot harder to get the wheel to seat properly on the hub. You might end up with a little bit of speed wobble, get some of that death wobble. Welcome to the Jeep life. But just make sure you get those. That's one thing with the methods, the MR502, that you're not going to have to worry about. The MR502 is machined perfectly to fit over Subaru hubs. Now the downside of that is a 56.1 hub bore is actually not very big. So it means that the wheel is not going to be as versatile. Now you can always size a hub board down, but it's a lot harder to size it up unless you want to pay a machine shop a lot of money. And it's stupid, in my opinion, to do that. So if you're planning on maybe switching them out to a different car in the future, you might want to go with the Boxers, since you could, go with a different hub bore diameter. Other than that, I don't really have much else to say. They're wheels. They're good wheels. It's hard to beat them. They're lightweight. I've absolutely enjoyed them. I haven't really cared that they're hard to clean because I don't even clean this car. I just run it in the mud. I beat it up. I don't give a fudge. If you're like me, you probably don't give a fudge either. If you do give a fudge, just get a pressure washer, send it home with the friggin' wheel cleaner, and you'll be good to go. Other than that, man, I think these look great. I think they look great on all Subarus. If you have any questions about this wheel, let me know. And if you're already running this wheel, I'd love to hear if you've noticed anything about them that I missed, anything that I've maybe not thought of or considered. And with that, I think we are good to go until next time. So, until the next time that I see you guys, I hope I run into you on the trail. But if not, stay up, have a good day, be a good person. I'll see you next time.